Hello and welcome to another edition of Toys from the Attic. For today's episode, I thought I'd be taking a look at Toy Biz's controversial Talking Venom action figure. So without further ado, let's take a closer look at this guy. This 1990s Talking Venom action figure. Now I'm going to be honest with you guys, I never really owned this guy growing up as a kid. This one actually belonged to my cousin. I only later got most of his action figures after he started to kind of outgrow them. But I distinctly remember him telling me the little bits about Venom that he knew, about how he was a bigger, eviler, stronger version of Spider-Man. And ever since that, I really fell in love with the character. He's become actually my favorite character in the entire Marvel Universe. And I've learned a lot more about him. At the time, I didn't know that it was actually a living costume that he had that once belonged to Spider-Man, and that he refers to himself in the we. But this guy is pretty neat. He actually depicts the classic look of Venom that was out at the time, where you don't really see the feet on him. He's not overly as big, like the size of the Hulk, and he just has the right amount of bulk for him. I actually really dig this design out of Venom than most of the more modern day interpretations of him. Now, like I've said before, Toy Biz was really not known for their articulation with their figures. As you can see, his head can only move side to side, his arms are only able to go up and down, and his legs are only able to move back and forth, and he has a bend at his knees. His arms are out in this weird pose. It's almost like he's a zombie going after someone, or what I like to think is kind of more of a menacing Frankenstein-ish look, like he's really coming to get somebody. Sadly to say, they never added the little black dots right here in the middle of his white parts on his hand. It's something that I always liked, that you could see like where his little webbing would shoot out. And they never actually added the little white spider on his back. They probably didn't have too many pictures of the character to work with, or thought that the spider logo was only on his chest. I'd much prefer it to actually be on both sides, like it's how it's depicted in the comics. Now, this guy was controversial back in the day. He was actually the first version of Venom to come out, if memory serves me correctly. They later produced a second one, or they were producing a second one along the same time, where he had a little hole right here, and you could fit a giant plunger in his back and squirt out some black slime, like the symbiote was actually coming to life, or attacking, or just moving around. But Talking Venom, his accessories were... he actually came with like a black spider web that he could not actually hold, but I believe it did stick on the wall, and if you positioned his hands just right, he could kind of hang in it. And he came with a giant voice box backpack with 3 buttons. Now, the quotes were, if memory serves me correctly from the other two, is some sort of web slinging sound, or some sort of symbiote moving sound. It was like whoosh, whoosh. I'll try to find an actual audio clip of it. The next one was Die Spider-Man, because of course back then he was still a villain and not more of an anti-hero like he is today. And the one that got most parents riled up was I'm going to eat your brain. That was the last quote that he did, and one that he was kind of famously known for. And because a lot of parents complained about it, after a while this guy started to disappear from the shelves, and all you could get was the one that actually squirted out the goop. I much prefer this one just because the goop squirting one had a really big hole in the back here, and it just kind of took away from the overall design. And back then I really liked the look of Venom. So I much prefer this one where it's all sculpted in here, and I wish I had that voice box, but I remember my cousin kind of took it apart and destroyed it. I can't remember exactly why, so that was just a little thing that was lost. Now granted, he might not be as cool as some of the more modern day interpretations of Venom. I can think of, they did get a little bit better in their sculpt and design and posing, until sort of the mid ones where you actually could see Eddie Brock's face under there. I'm not really a big fan of those particular action figures. Still, all in all, he's a classic look to a really cool character, and because he's actually a controversial toy, he has kind of an interesting story behind him. Anyways, this has been a look at Toy Biz's Talking Venom. Once again, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed what you've seen today, please feel free to like, subscribe, or leave a comment below in the comment section. Any advice for the show will be greatly appreciated. Who knows, something you suggest may appear on the show in the future.